Greetings, welcome back to the Too Fast Tactical channel. In today's tabletop review, we're going to be taking a look at a sport action camera. This particular one is made by Wongkuo. It is the Elite 3. It is an ultra high definition 4K video camera, 20 megapixel still camera, has integrated a 2-inch integrated LCD screen, integrated Wi-Fi, accepts a external microphone, and comes with a remote control. Now I picked this up off of Amazon. Normally this runs for $46.99 on Amazon. Smoking deal for what it is. I've got a coupon code below in the description. If you use the coupon code, you can pick this up for $35.24. I do believe the coupon expires after like 25 days or so. Definitely, if you want to pick one of these up, jump on it as quickly as possible. So let's talk about the packaging. This more or less how it ships, and I guess this is for carrying or for putting on a POP display. And it is taped down, and you've got to cut the tape, and you can remove the top. And the action camera and its waterproof casing is actually mounted right here. I've unmounted it because it's got a little plastic clip here, and it slides in and locks in place. And I don't believe this mounting plate is designed to be reused, that mounting plate right there, but I bet you could probably take it off and maybe reuse it if you tore the whole box apart. Anyway, so there is the camera and the waterproof casing for it. Now, one thing I noticed is the waterproof casing, of course, does not allow you to plug in an external microphone. So, like most of these types of sport action cameras, when it's in the waterproof casing, you're gonna get little to no audio or muffled audio. The casing does give you access to the 3 main control buttons on the top. And you can see the LCD screen, of course. The mount, of course, this is typical for most of these. You can unscrew this and take this mount off, and there's different mounting options which are in the box, and we'll talk about that. Let's pop the camera out of this waterproof casing. Now, I did test this waterproof casing in my sink. And I dunked it and left it submerged for 10 minutes and took it out, opened it up, and there was no water inside. So it does appear to be doing its job correctly. So this is the Wongkuo sport action camera. The lens on this is a 170-degree wide angle camcorder type of lens. So pretty typical for this genre of camera. You've got a compartment that's covered with this little cover here, a microphone, standard 1/4 inch tripod mount here, and then another cover right there. I'll take those off in a minute. And of course the LCD screen, which is protected by this plastic material. On the top, you've got your shutter button, your power button, and mode selection button. LED over here shows you if it's powered on or if it's charging and whatnot. These buttons are used to cycle through the menu. You've got to get used to that menu orientation of cycling through, selecting, and so on. And it is very small, very small. I don't have, I do have a tape measure. So we've got, it's less than 2 3/4, a little more than 2 1/2. Total width is probably a little less than 1 1/4, and total depth is a little bit less than 1 inch. If we include the lens, it's about 1 1/8. So pretty small. So that's the camera. The box itself, it's got some pictures of different things. It's got some specs on the back. I'll talk about more on the specs here in a little bit. This does include a remote control. We'll talk about that. This is a QR code. if you have a QR code reader on your phone and you scan this, it will take you to the store where you can download software which you can install on your iPhone or your Android, and you can connect to the Sport Action camera, and you can control the functions via your cell phone. Kind of standard for a lot of these types of cameras. And let's see, let's go ahead and open this up. Let's see what stuff's on the inside. This includes a external lavalier type of microphone. I've already had this out and I've already tested this. Put it back in the bag and put it back in the box for your unboxing pleasure. Not a bad microphone. It's got your standard collar clip on it. It's got a foam cover on the microphone to cut down on wind noise when you're outside using this. And then a standard, I believe that's a 2.5 millimeter jack, and that plugs into the camera. We'll talk about that later because I got to take those little covers off. Most smart action cameras either don't have the facility to use an external microphone, and if they do, they don't come with one. So, I mean, this one coming with an external microphone is pretty great. If you watch all the way to the end of this video, by the way, I've got 2 sample tests of this Sport Action camera. I'm just walking around talking. One is with just using the internal microphone of the camera, and the other one is using this microphone. So stay around to the end of the video and you can watch those clips. These are mounting straps. And these are the type of strap that you kind of feed through like so, pull it into place, and then lock it down, and it doesn't move. So you got 2 of those. And this is designed for, well, let's see. You could mount this on a pole or your handlebars on your bike and have the camera facing you or facing in front or what have you. This particular mount has rubberized an insert right here to protect, if it's on your handlebar, so it doesn't scratch it, and it does come out. So if this isn't quite wide enough, you can take the rubber insert out and get a little bit more space in this bracket. This is another mounting plate. This particular one can either be, it comes with 3M tape installed on the back, or you could use one of these straps. You could run one of these straps through it and strap it down to something. The camera mount, or the waterproof casing, could slide in like so and snap into place, or since it does have a quarter inch threaded ring right there, you could possibly mount it like this with an adapter piece. So that's completely doable. It does come with a charging cable, which is a USB-C charging cable, so you can plug this into your computer to charge it. If you want to plug it into the wall, you need to get a outlet adapter, sort of like what you probably have with your Android or your iPhone. You could use that 5-watt household adapter and plug this cable in to charge the camera. You can charge the battery. You have to charge the battery inside the camera. The battery itself doesn't come with an external charger. So this other item is another mount option. You could remove this mount option here and put this on, and then this could screw into a mounting base. So that's another option. And we have more. We have another strap here. This is a Velcro based strap, so this is a little bit different than this other one, which is kind of have this little pressure fit thing. You got to flip up and flip down. This one is Velcro. And then we have the remote control here. So this is kind of cool. So you can use, you could use this little, one of these little straps Probably not this one, maybe the Velcro one. Put this on your wrist, wrap this through here and put it on your wrist so you've got the remote control with you. The gray button starts and stops your video recording, and the red snaps a photo. And there are 4 little Phillips screws on the back here, which you can, you need a really small Phillips screwdriver to take the back off, and the batteries would be in there. So, and you can see you've got a different light for the red button and a different light for the gray button, and that works as it should. I did test that a little bit. Get a free gift by sharing your thoughts. Documentation. The very last thing in the box is the 4K action camera user manual. The QR code's also in the user manual in case it's damaged on the box, and this is in several different languages as well. Okay, so let me clear this work area and we'll talk about some of the specs on the camera. Okay, so let's talk about some of the specs here real quick, get that out of the way. The maximum video resolution you can do on this is 4K at 30 frames per second. You can also do 1080p by 60 frames per second. For reference, the sample videos I recorded at the end of the video were in 1080p 60 frames per second, just like this video that I'm making right now on the Panasonic G7. The still photos are 20 megapixels. It has built-in anti-shake. They call that EIS, I believe. And in the waterproof casing, it can go down to 98 feet. So you can turn the electronic image stabilization, the EIS, on or off. And let's see. Okay, so it has built-in Wi-Fi. We talked about that. It has built-in HD. It has a built-in HDMI output, although it does not include an HDMI cable. So if you want to play back your video through HDMI or plug it into your TV set, you'd have to supply your own HDMI cable. The Wi-Fi functionality also allows you to share and edit the photos and videos directly via their free app. Going through my notes here, just make sure I cover all the specs. Two-inch LCD screen, talked about that. All right, so what I didn't talk about so far, or talked about some things twice already, there's multiple modes on it. And the different modes, one is called a snow mode, which will reduce the exposure caused by snow for your pictures. Then you have the night mode, and the night mode allows more light in for you to capture a better photograph at night or better video. So then you have the diving mode. I don't know what the diving mode exactly does. I couldn't quite figure that out. The notes say makes the shooting environment more suitable for underwater environment. It's exactly what it says. And then there's the car mode. So you can also utilize this camera. You'd probably need some different mounts that are, a suction cup mount or something to put it on your windshield. You can use this as a forward-facing camera to record video while you're driving for insurance purposes. In case you already don't have one of those, this can be utilized for that. So the car mode option on here starts the recording right when it's powered on. So obviously you would have the power cord plugged into it. You'd have it plugged into your cigarette lighter or hardwired to a switch 12-volt source. So when you turn the car on, it starts recording. And then, of course, all of the accessories. And okay, so those are my talking notes, so you don't have to hear me stumbling through those anymore. Let's take a close-up look at the camera and what we've got with that. Okay, so on these little side doors here, this one right here that hides your USB-C charging port, your HDMI, and then down here at the bottom, this is where you plug in your external microphone. It's got this little rubber, it's a little captured rubber door that just kind of sits there. You do need, you know, something small to kind of pop it out, and it just kind of hangs there. So if you're not using it, pop it back into place. I found that this thing flopping around, since it's captured here, it's kind of inconvenient when you have your microphone plugged in right there, to have this thing flopping around. On the other side is your battery and your SD card, your micro SD card. Now, I didn't talk about that yet. This does not ship with a micro SD card, and you need a micro SD card that's suitable for recording 4K video. I believe the specifications for that are in the user guide. This particular one is that I'm using is a Ultra Plus SanDisk. This is 64 gig. It is way more than what's needed for doing video recording. I'm not an expert on the different speeds, but not all micro SD cards are created equal. You want one that's appropriate for recording video, and I'll look in the user manual and I'll get that information for you. The door on this side is a hard plastic door, and it pops off. You need like a little flat blade screwdriver to pop this off. And then the battery has a little pull tab, and you can pull the battery out here. This particular battery is a lithium ion. It's 3.7 volt. It's 1150 milliamps. Carries a part number of WP1150. I'm not sure. Whoops, I guess. Sorry about that. It wasn't in frame there. So I'm not sure if those are available separately. But normally with these types of cameras, I like to have a couple extras if I'm recording at the range or what have you. So again, you would charge this with the battery in place, and then of course the SD card. You got to pop this cover off to take the SD card out. Put the SD card in your computer and download your video or your photos. At least that's how I do it, because I'm old school. Okay, so those are the two doors, and of course on the back here we've got that little film which I didn't take off. The power button, you just press it for a second or so, and we get the Wongkuo splash screen, and it comes up. So you can see, okay, of course, you can only see it if I keep it in frame. I'm looking at the camera and I'm not looking at the video camera. Sorry about that. So this this display right here, this lets us know that there's a SD card installed, charge state of the battery, what video mode that we're in, currently 1080p 60 frames per second, date and time, recording length, and then there's a microphone icon right there. So when it's turned on, we get the blue light indicator on the top. If we want to start recording video, what I'm going to do is just I'm going to press that, and we're going to get our recording time down here turns red to let us know that we're recording video. The blue starts blinking, so we know something's going on. So I'm actually recording video right now of this item right here. After this section of the video that we're in right now, I'll splice this video in so you can have a comparison of the G7 and this on my little display area. So you'll get another sample video. You kind of get an idea of how this looks using the Sport Action Cam right there. So that's a short little clip. And we press the shutter again, and that saves our recording. So the menuing system here, this is pretty simple. If we use the M button here in the center button, we toggle from our video mode to our photography mode. So if you press it once, it goes into photography mode, and then we could press the shutter and boom, we capture a photo. So you get the standard shutter sound that you would get from an old school camera. If we press the mode button again, now we start toggling through our different menus, and I'll just briefly go through this. This next menu right here allows you to select pictures or select videos. You can delete them, you can play them back, and so on. And as we toggle through with the mode button, you can see this next screen. We got our video resolution. We can turn our electronic image stabilization on or off. We can also create a looping video. And each time we use the M button, we're moving through a menu right here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 different menus. So once you're on a menu that you're interested in, you let's see if I remember this. We press the, okay, we're at photo resolution 20 megapixel. If we press the shutter button, we go into the next layer of the menu right here, and that allows me to select 20 megapixel, 16, 12, 8, or 5. And if we press the center button again, we go back to the resolution. Now to cycle through all these options, we use the power button. And you can see there's a little, maybe you can see this, maybe not, little yellow outline that goes around the option. So time-lapse photo, burst photo, and that's all we have in that particular menu right there. So go back to the middle button, press that again. This is where you can turn your Wi-Fi on. So for example, that's highlighted. We'll press the shutter button, and then we'll press the select button, the power button, cycle over to on, and press the shutter button. And what that does is it turns Wi-Fi on. And then what pops up is the SSID and the password 1234567 So what you would do with your cell phone is you would go into your Wi-Fi settings and refresh, make sure Wi-Fi is turned on your cell phone, refresh the list and look for the SSID, the Elite 3, connect to it, and then punch in this PIN code 1234567 Now your phone is connected to this device, and of course you need to have the installed app on your phone for that to happen, for that to work. So that's the Wi-Fi. And let's go back into our menu. Okay, so the remote control you can turn on or off. By default, it's on. You can adjust the volume, white balance. I have all these settings configured for default. So the white balance is set for auto, and that's all of all the options in that particular menu. If we continue going through, you've got some language. You've got your car mode. I talked about that. The driving mode, and what else? Snow mode, night mode. It also has a auto power off feature. So if you accidentally leave this on and it's not recording, the default is 3 minutes. It will automatically power down to save your battery. You can set the date and time, date format. You can have a date stamp on your videos or your photos. I have that turned off, and that's all for that menu. And then that's basically it. So when you come to the end, it tells you to press the shutter button to exit, and it will exit you out of the menu system and back into your video section. So that's scrolling through the menu. Now, for the phone, if you use the if you scan the QR code, let's get the way. And the QR code is on the box right there. So now I have an older phone, and I believe there's a compatibility problem either with this brand new version of iOS or with this older phone. You would use a QR reader, whether you use a built-in one or one that you get from a third-party source. I don't think it really matters. Scan the QR code like so, and it will take you to a program called Live DVD or Live DV, which allows you to control pretty much all of those menu functions we just toggled through. You can do from your phone. And I do have it installed, the Live DV right there. So first, when you first go into the Live DV, hopefully you can see that. Sorry about all the glare there, but my table's lit up like a Christmas tree. It tells you, you know, the first step is you've got to connect via Wi-Fi and so on. I will try to demonstrate that for you here. But it's definitely, I've already tried this and it does not work with my old ass phone. So Wi-Fi is not on by default. So I'm going to toggle through this menu. Get the Wi-Fi turned on. All right, so this is the software menu, and this is basically saying turn on your camera and Wi-Fi, and then of course connect to it. So for iOS, we'd go into settings and we'd go into Wi-Fi. If you're already connected to an access point, you've got to disconnect. And then you'll see down here, Elite 3 pops, not that one, Elite 3 will pop up. And if this is the first time you're doing this, it will prompt you for the PIN code, the 123456778. I've already connected this because I've already worked with this quite a bit, so the PIN code's already in there. Once you've connected successfully and put in your PIN code, you can go back to your Live DV app and you can click Start Connect. And then this will come up, and if you have better luck than me, it will connect. You can see up here it's telling me that it's 1080p 60 frames per second with electronic image stabilization turned on. Things are set for auto. You can see we've got a shutter button, we have a setup button, and we've got some other contrast settings here. You can go from movie, you can press over here and do photo. Unfortunately, this isn't going to work, so this is about as far as I can show you with the Wi-Fi. So if this was working, I would probably use the Wi-Fi function to you know, gain remote access to the menu functions, because I think it will be a lot easier. Based on other products I've used, the cell phone app gives you a much better interface for accessing the menu features. So that's the Wi-Fi feature there. So let's move on. I'm going to press that, and we're going to get our recording time down here turns red to let us know that we're recording video. The blue starts blinking, so we know something's going on. So I'm actually recording video right now of this item right here. After this section of the video that we're in right now, I'll splice this video in so you can have a comparison of the G7 and this on my little display area. So you'll get another sample video, kind of get an idea of how this looks using the Sport Action Cam right there. So that's a really short little clip. Okay, so I've got the user guide out here, and there's just a few things I wanted to mention that I didn't have in my actual notes here. The 4K 30 frames per second, which is 3840 by 2160, you can do that with the electronic image stabilization on or off. It also has 2.7K 30 frames per second, the 1080p 60 frames per second. It'll also do 1080p 30 frames per second, and it will do 720p 120 frames per second. That would be the mode that you would want to use if you were doing a slow-mo type video. The looping video, which I mentioned through the menu, is off 1 minute, 3 minute, or 5 minutes. The time-lapse video is off 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. The slow motion is 1080p 60 frames per second or 720p 120 frames per second. Photo resolution, we talked about that. Time-lapse photos are 2 seconds or 10 seconds. Burst photos, you can do bursts of 3 photos or 5 photos. And you can also turn that beeping on or off that we heard. I could not find a way to turn off that shutter sound, so I believe the shutter sound is kind of built in. The white balance settings, which I showed you in the menu, I have set to auto. If you were to toggle through those and play around with those, other than auto, there's daylight, cloudy, fluorescence 1 and fluorescence 2. The ISO setting, which I have set to auto, you can also do ISO 100, 200, 400, 800, or 1600. You also have some special effects you can apply to the photos: normal, sepia, black and white, and negative. I briefly tested those. I don't normally use stuff like that, but it's there. Contrast is -100 to 100, saturation -100 to 100, sharpness -100 to 100. A bunch of different languages. The power off, which I mentioned, I believe that power off on the menu said 3 minutes. The user manual says never 1 minute or 5 minutes. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that 3 was an actual 5. That screen is rather small. You can set the frequency of the video from 50 to 60 hertz. Depending upon what country you're in, that could be usable. And okay, the SD cards. It states you need a micro SD card with a class 10. That's 80 megabits a second speed rating at least. And it's compatible with 8, 16, 32, and 64. It makes no mention of 128. I don't have a 128. If I did, I would have tested that. So mine's a 64. It works fine. And they also recommend when you put the card in, if you take the card out of something else, put it in this camera, format it. This camera is also compatible with any wired omnidirectional mono microphone. Again, it's a 2.5 millimeter jack. So you don't have to use that lavalier microphone that's included with this. If you have your own, you can use that. I don't believe it's going to work with a stereo microphone. Just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it. So that's just some of the reference material from this user guide. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I found this to be a excellent value for the accessories that you get. I did try these accessories with some of my other sport action cameras, and they are compatible. So that's good. It's not like they went off and designed their own accessories. These accessories seem to be compatible with a lot of other products on the market. So if you have other sport action cameras, you can mix and match your accessories. So that's really nice. The size and the battery life, the functionality is really good. For me, this is a B camera that I can mount on something, whether I'm mounting it on a car or I'm mounting it on a firearm at the range or something like that. It's a B camera for me. So so far so good. I like it, and at that price point, I can buy a bunch of them. So I can, if I wanted to get creative, which I'm not so creative, but if I wanted to, I could get 3 or 4 of these and place them all around and then splice all the videos together and make a phenomenal video from 4 different angles if I wanted to. Unfortunately, I'm not good at video editing, so I don't do that. But great buy, Wongkuo Elite 3. Watch the sample videos coming up right after this. Camera test with the attached lavalier microphone. 1080p by 60 frames per second with image stabilization turned on. I'm just holding the camera walking. And I should be talking some more so you can get an idea of what the lavalier microphone, the included microphone, sounds like. It's attached to my jacket, and I'm holding the camera in my hand. There's no gimbal or anything. That's going to end this particular test. Here's another test of the action camera. Same settings, 1080p by 60 frames per second, but this time I'm using the internal microphone of the camera. Walking a different direction because there's a change of scenery at least. So this is the internal microphone of the action cam. I should note that in both of these test videos the action cam is not in its waterproof casing, otherwise the audio would be even more muted, or it would be muted. So this is pretty much going to terminate the secondary test of the action cam 1080p 60 frames per second using just the internal microphone.